Good morning. So I am about to leave for work. I want to leave early because I need to go to the library, but I wanted to update you because I am officially like 100 and I think like 75 pages into City of Bones, the first book in the Mortal Instruments series. I have read this book before, but that was years ago, probably over 10 years ago. I needed to reread it because my friend is reading it and we decided to read it together, and he is 2 books ahead of me. So I need to catch up. So I've been spending my time reading that book and I actually really like it. I think the first time I gave it 3 stars when I first read it. It's still feeling like a 3-star, but I just finished another series, the This Woven Kingdom series by Tahira Mafi, and there's only 3 books right now in that series, so I'm waiting for the 4th and 5th, which come out. I still have a whole year to wait for the 4th. So I'm really excited to be like in another fantasy world, and I think that's what I'm like enjoying the most, is being in like a fantasy world again. Clary and Simon. Okay. I've decided this vlog's probably gonna have a lot of spoilers because it's been over, I don't even know, it's been years. The first book came out in 2007. Okay, so at this point, there's gonna be spoilers. Jace somehow shows up at Clary's like poetry thing and she goes with him and disappears on Simon. 3 days later, she's still with Jace, blah, blah, blah. And my thought was, girl, don't you wanna call Simon? Like, don't you wanna let him know where you are? Knowing him, he's probably freaking out, which he was. It's like, that's supposed to be your best friend. I don't understand why you're not updating him. I don't know, I feel like people love Jace. I don't know if that's a consensus. I don't really know what people think about this series. I know they love it, but also I don't really know what people think about Jace. But Jace to me is like not giving, whatever. Like, cool. You're this like guy who thinks he's hot and like a hot shot. Cool. Like, bye. Like, I don't know. Like, these people are so young. I think she's 16 in this, which is crazy because I realized I haven't read a book starring a 16-year-old in a long time. So I was just like, wow, these people are so young. I guess except Hunger Games. I was like, okay, if I'm starting this book, I'm gonna read the whole series because I don't want to start this book again, then have to reread again because I like stopped and it's 10 years later and I haven't finished the series. So I'm reading this book and I have to finish the series. That's the goal. I'm officially home from work and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to read as much of this book as I can. I had a Red Bull at like 5, 6, I don't know, kind of late. So now I'm doing water. It was only like half a Red Bull because it was like the 20 ounce. I have some leftover fries and I'm on page 292 of City of Bones. Like I said, if I'm starting this, I need to read the whole series because I don't want to have to reread again. That's not happening. I have some deep-seated thoughts about Clary because I really have to remember that she's a 16-year-old. It's doing that thing that Hunger Games does where she has the best friend, which is Simon, and all of a sudden, you know, like Isabel's kind of like taking interest in him or kind of like takes him under her wing. I don't really know the basis of their relationship yet. And now Clary's like, oh wait, is Simon cute? Like, is he cute? And I'm like, girl. But I feel like Simon, honestly, to me, he's like a doofus and he's just like that nerdy, cute friend, you know? So I could see why she would kind of be like, oh yeah, he's just my friend. We've been friends for so long, whatever. But then someone else takes interest and she's like, oh wait, like, is my friend actually like cool and cute and fun? Jace, I don't really know if it's like if there's gonna be like a romance. Like, I can't really tell because he's just such a hot shot and there isn't really like any kind of anything between them, if I'm being honest. I don't feel like it, which is fine. They're 16 and I really have to, well, she's 16 and I really have to remember that. Also, like the way that she's comparing herself to Isabel and their body types and the way they look. I guess it's like, yeah, when you're 16, yeah, I guess you would have those kind of feelings, even like older, but I'm just like, girl, she's so like fixated on it. And I'm like, girl, it's not that serious. It's not that serious. It's okay. You're gonna be fine. I'm just like, the green eyes of jealousy are within you, are coming out. At this point, Isabel has been nothing but nice. So I'm like, why are you being so kind of like, she's not like mean to her, but she's just kind of like, you know, the like the little stink eye, the side eye kind of. I'm ready to move on to the second book, if I'm being honest, even though I have this much left to read. Not that I know what's happening, but it's like, I'm ready to move on to the second book because I've read this before. So I want to continue on with the story. I want to move on from this City of Bones. I want to see where this story goes. It is currently 9:31. I'm just gonna try and read as much as I can before I fall asleep. I don't have to work till 2 tomorrow, so I could get, hopefully, I want to finish this. Like, my goal is to finish this before work tomorrow. It's the next day and I just woke up, but I started reading like right away because I only got to page like 360 because I started getting tired at like 12 o'clock or so. So I was like reading a little bit and then started getting tired. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna fight this. I'm just gonna go to bed. I am almost done. I would really like to read at least to page 400 before I like get out of bed and like start my day. It's already 9 o'clock and I don't work till 2. And on the weekends, like Saturday, Sunday, like I don't get like a traditional like weekend Saturday, Sunday where most people that work a week job, they get Saturday, Sunday off. I don't have that. I usually work on the weekends. My days off are random, normally Monday for sure. So I work today and tomorrow, but I still like to give myself day off. Saturday, Sunday. It used to be just Sunday, like Sunday, get to lay in bed and read. And instead of like getting up and working out right away, I get to like kind of ease into the morning, which is nice. And I think I might start that for Saturdays too, especially because I want to read my book. If I'm not like trying to finish a book, then I'll probably just get up, but I want to read my book this morning. So I'm going to allow myself to lay in bed until I at least get to page 400, and then I'll get up and get some coffee, and then I'll probably continue reading before I head to work. I want to leave a little earlier today because I want to go to the post office, or I need to go to the post office. Like I said in the last clip, it's like I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to go to the second book because I'm ready to see like past this first story that I've already read. So I want to see what else this world has to offer. I was wrong about the romance because Clary and Jace kissed and now she's in a love triangle with Simon because Simon also professed his love to her. Of course you have that best friend that's like been in love with you. I do like Simon. I feel like he's genuine and authentic and it's like I've been in love with you for years. Like duh. Clary also is kind of stupid in my opinion. Like girl, we could see that, but obviously like her 16-year-old self could not. When I read these characters, I have to remember she is very, very young. They are very young. So it was the same feeling I had with Hunger Games. I'm like, okay, I have to remember they are so young. But they're going through crazy things. She's going through crazy things too. Missing her mom. Trying to bring back her mom. Trying to find the mortal cup. She's like, what am I doing? I'm 16. Age never plays a factor in any of these YA books. It's very interesting. Off to continue reading and I will update probably when I finish the book. Does anyone ever do like name association? There's a character named Luke in this book and I can't think of the name Luke anymore without thinking of Luke from Gilmore Girls, and that's who I keep picturing, even though the Luke in this book has glasses, but I keep picturing Luke from Gilmore Girls. And then I just met someone named Alaric, and Alaric, in my opinion, is not a very common name. I've only ever heard that name one time, and that is from Vampire Diaries. It's kind of like cool because I'm like, okay, they're in this world where there's like werewolves and vampires, and obviously Vampire Diaries, like there's werewolves and vampires, and in Vampire Diaries Alaric becomes a vampire, and in this he's part of like I think like a werewolf clan maybe. I'm just like Alaric, oh my god, Vampire Diaries. I can't think of certain names without thinking of other things that I've liked in pop culture. I'm just gonna now picture Alaric in this as Alaric from Vampire Diaries. Officially finished with City of Bones. I've officially finished City of Bones. I already said this vlog was going to be full spoilers. What is this, Star Wars? Jace and Clary, not Jace and Clary being biological brother and sister. My favorite part is when he finds out and he's flabbergasted. My second favorite part is when Simon's like, is it weird since you found out? And she says, it's not weird because nothing ever happened between us. Girl, you kissed your brother. You did that. That happened. So something did happen between you guys. It may not have been like super explicit, but it happened. Something happened, okay? It may not have been Game of Thrones level, but it something happened. So to say nothing happened is a little bit startling. I am now moving on to book 2. I'm moving on to book 2. I actually started on the train. I'm like, do I need to annotate this? Some of the stuff was hard to keep track of. I am definitely giving book number 1 a 3-star. 3 stars. It's the same as when I like first read it. I'm moving on to number 2. And I think I'm like 19 pages in. Yeah, 19 pages in to number 2. We're now dealing with the aftermath of finding out Jace and Clary are brother and sister, hoping that Jocelyn wakes up. Now Jace kind of has to deal with figuring out, like, not really figuring out, but like accepting that Jocelyn is his mom, because he's very much like, she's not my mom. And it's like, no, she is. So there's that. Then trying to find Valentine. They're already freaking me out because Clary says, Clary had said nothing in response. There was no point in telling him how badly she wanted Jason not to be her brother. You couldn't rip out your own DNA, no matter how much you wished you could, no matter how much it would make you happy. So there's that. I want to see like what's gonna happen with Simon, because Simon is like the cute best friend and he's a little goofy and he's funny. I also think that he's not a mundane, because he says in the first one that he can see Clary's mom's like white marks, which are like the scars from the runes. He can see them on her, and I thought only like shadow hunters or like people that aren't mundanes could see those scars. So I'm kind of wondering like something different about him, and I'm wondering where his story is gonna go. We're going to now embark on number 2, and I'm gonna see how much I can get read tonight. Probably not too much. It's already like 10 something, 10:30 or later. I don't even know. I'm gonna see how much I can get done. I have work tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Keep in mind, I'm excited because I have read City of Bones before. I read City of Bones, but I have not read any other book in this series. So it's all new for me, and I can finally like see what else is happening in this world. Happy Monday. Y'all know what that means. Movie Monday. So yes, I'm going to see a movie later. I'm going to see Civil War, which I have heard mixed reviews on. And I knew. I was like, okay, I know that this movie is going to be, people are like going to love it or hate it. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is City of Ashes, okay? I am 218 pages in. I think I started it 2 days ago. Okay, I'll preface this again. This is going to have spoilers, full spoilers, because it's been like 10 years since this book has been out. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, this book came out in what, 2015? Okay, 2008. Okay, over 10 years. This is what it is. And I didn't know that. I feel like Game of Thrones really prepared me for this, because if you watch Game of Thrones, or if you know anything about Game of Thrones, I read the first book. We find out that Jace and Clary are brother and sister, and then I told my friend, please don't let there be any romance in like the next book. I was reading last night and I texted my friend, said, this is a book about incest. And I'm like, what? I just feel like the feelings that Jace and Clary are having about each other. Okay, you started liking each other when you didn't know you were brother and sister. Okay, great. But now you know you're related. So Jace is super offended when Clary's like, this is sickening. We are not gonna do that. And he's like, we can keep it a secret. So there's that. And Simon. Can we talk about Simon? Okay, I like Simon. And I figured something was gonna happen to him. Something, he was gonna turn into a wolf, a vampire, something. So something has happened to him. And something that in my opinion would make him probably super hot, considering my love for the thing that he has now turned into. And she's still, I would say, maybe in love with Jace. I don't know. But also, like, the way she describes kissing Simon is like comfortable and like safe and this and that. But then she's like, it's not like how when Jace and I kissed, it had unlocked something in me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Also, I need clarification because basically I'm at the part where the thing that has happened to Simon, which he turns into something else, the thing that has happened to him, how does it happen? So Simon turns into a vampire, okay? But if I know anything about vampires, the way that they're explaining the way he turned into a vampire does not make sense. He drank a drink at a party and it turned him into a rat. When he was in rat form, he got stolen or whatever, taken by the vampires. And so he bit one of the vampires and he has vampire blood in his system. Now, from my watch of the Vampire Diaries, okay, which I don't know if that's actual canon, but from my watch of the Vampire Diaries twice, from my understanding, when you have vampire blood in your system, you will come back as a vampire. That makes sense. But you have to first. In the book, but they don't tell you how. Apparently he knew that something was happening to him. And so he went to the vampire lair to kind of maybe ask them about it or be like, something's happening to me. And then the next thing we know, Raphael, who's a vampire, is like knocking at the door of the Institute being like, something's happening to him. He's dying. But they don't explain how he dies. So I'm just confused because the vampire also says, oh, he bit me when he was a rat. The poison, or not the poison, the blood that was in his system would have just like cycled out eventually. He goes, but now this. But now this of what? Like now that he's dying, he's now you need to bury him and then he's gonna come back as a vampire. I get that. What I don't get is how he died. Like, how did he die? That's not being told to us. Someone's hiding something and they need to tell us. I need to keep reading, obviously, because I'm confused and I need answers. I need answers because the math is not mathing about how he died. This book kind of has me like, ugh. I'm reading on the train. I'm on the train last night, okay? And I'm reading about when they go to the fairy underworld or whatever, the fairy world. I'm reading about that. And the fairy queen tricks them and basically says, Clary apparently drank something, whatever, not intentionally. And it was like on her finger or something. And now the queen's like, you have to stay here. Like, you're mine. And they're like, no. So she says, okay, I'll let you leave if you kiss somebody. And the person you kiss is the one you really, really want. Like, that's who you desire the kiss from. So who does she kiss? Jace. And they basically make out. And after that, Simon's basically like, that's what it feels like. I feel like he's like, I'm done. Even though, like, we know he's not, but he just, like, is shooketh. I feel like we were all shooketh. And I'm, like, on the train, just, like, reading. I was, like, mouth hung open on the train, okay? Cassandra Clare is not afraid to go there. I mean, George R. R. Martin wrote an entire thing about incest that the world has just accepted because we love Game of Thrones. She's not afraid to go there. I have a feeling that something, I don't know what, I have a feeling that it's gonna come out that they're actually not brother and sister. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. I don't know what it is in me, but I feel like something's gonna come out saying that they're like not actually brother and sister, like something maybe in the last book or something, I don't know. This little weird love triangle going on, like Jace, her brother, and then Simon. Like I wasn't ready. I was not ready for that. I'm still not ready, but am I gonna keep reading? Definitely. It's Saturday and I got a new SD card and it says I only have 2 minutes left of like filming time on my SD card, realizing 32 is not enough because my original SD card was like 256. Realizing today that 32 is not enough, so I'm gonna have to buy another SD card very soon, probably today or tomorrow. I have an hour before I need to leave for work, so I am going to see how much of City of Glass I can actually get through. And I'm already 144 pages in, and we are now in Idris. We are now in the Shadow Hunter world, like their world, the Clave, like their world. Things are going down. Clary's doing whatever the fuck she wants, as she always does. Simon again is still collateral damage, and Jace is just kind of being an asshole. That's pretty much where we're at. Good morning. I had to get a new SD card, which is why I haven't updated this vlog. I realize I have not updated very much about reading the third book in the Mortal Instruments series, which was City of Glass. And I woke up this morning at like 4 a.m. and I finished the book. The epilogue is basically all I had to read. The thing about this series, I think I said it before, I don't know, is like, I feel like it's like a 3.5 star series overall so far. Again, I've only read the first 3 books, but I would definitely give this book a 4. I think it started out a little slow, but still engaging. And then towards the end of part 2, things were just moving. Something happened, and I wish I would have recorded my reaction because I had an audible reaction to something that happened that I kind of called like very early on. I don't know. I don't know what it is in me, but I feel like something's gonna come out saying that they're like not actually brother and sister, like something maybe in the last book or something, I don't know. And it finally happened, and I was just kind of like, I knew it. That would have been hilarious to get a video of, but that did not happen. I feel like there are things that in this book that I can like guess what's gonna happen, and I was like, okay, yeah, like I figured that was gonna happen. But there are some things that are really like I did not see coming. Early on, the whole thing is like Clary and Jace are brother and sister, and I just could not accept that. I could not accept that. I was like, there's no fucking way. I was like, I know that something is gonna come out where they're not brother and sister. Like, I just was like, I know it. I cannot imagine this incest line going through the whole story. And like all 6 books. I just couldn't, I was just like, that's not gonna happen. And secondly, there's just the way that Valentine was talking and the things that he was saying. There's a third sibling or somebody in there in this like Jace and Clary thing. I just was like, there's a third person in there that we haven't met or we don't know. I'm like happy that it went that way because I could not get behind Clary and Jace being together if they're brother and sister. I'm sorry. I just couldn't get behind it. And I wanted Clary to be happy. I wanted Jace to be happy. I personally love Simon. I want Simon to be happy. But I just was like, I don't know if I can get behind that. Whatever. Especially if we're gonna like continue this like on again, off again. Like we should do this, we should not care what other people think kind of thing. I was like, no. Another thing is Clary has 0 training. And when I started book 3, I was like, this bitch has no training. And I thought, did I miss something? No weapons training, no runes training, no combat training at all. And there's like a world level war happening between demons and downworlders and shadow hunters, and she has no training whatsoever. She's just a normal, regular girl who all of a sudden gets thrown into this with no training. At least in the Hunger Games, Katniss had like survival skills, archery skills, so it's like she could survive. But this girl has no training and she's just wham bam killing demons left and right. That was a little weird to me. And I'm done with book 3 and she still hasn't had any training, but she's almost led a revolution at this point. I don't know, it's like a fun series to read because it has demons and vampires, and I love vampires, fairies, all of that, and it's definitely keeping me interested in reading. And I'm kind of like, okay, I want to go to the 4th book. I did start the 4th book. It's a lot shorter than the other 3. This number 3 was so long, and number 4 is like I think a little under 400 pages. Book 3 was almost 600 pages. I do want to go on to book 4, but I also think I need to take a little bit of a break because Emily Henry's book just came out. So I'm gonna read that and then I'll go back to book 4. What else did I want to talk about? Because I feel like I have thoughts in the moment and then I like forget once I like get on the camera of what I have to say. For me, things were, to me, kind of like wrapped up at the end of book 3 in a way. Book 4, 5, and 6, like what's gonna be in 4, 5, and 6? Especially because 6 is huge. Well, that's another reason why I want to continue reading, because I can't imagine like where the story's gonna go for books 4, 5, and 6. I guess we're gonna catch up with Jace and Clary, and I'm assuming they're gonna be together now. Jocelyn is back. Which is exciting because she seems like she's a bad bitch, honestly. You know, Simon already has this kind of like love triangle thing going on with Isabel and Maya, and I don't really like that for Simon or Isabel or Maya. I would never think of Simon as like a person with like, I have 2 girlfriends, but I guess he's like dating them, and that's at the start of book 4. So I guess he's like dating them, but he hasn't told either one about the other. I am really excited to continue on with is the story between Alec and Magnus. And I think there's books that are just about them. And if there are, those are the ones I'm really excited to read, because I really like the slow progression of the relationship. I think it's very interesting to have Alec kind of in this position where he has not come out to anybody really in his family, but you know, he's met Magnus, and Magnus in a way has like kind of changed his life, and Magnus, he's done all these things for Alec. Alec really having to accept that part of him and be like, yeah, I really do like Magnus. And Magnus seems also like a bad bitch. Like Magnus seems fabulous, and I honestly love him. If I were to choose a character I'd want to be, definitely a warlock, which we knew that because of my obsession with like Bonnie and being a witch, even though in this universe witches are not real, it's warlocks. So I guess in this universe I'd be a warlock. I love vampires, but in this universe I don't really know if I'd want to be a vampire because they don't seem very nice or fun. They seem kind of like sticks in the mud, honestly, because Raphael is like way too serious for me. He doesn't seem like a good person. Every time they've interacted with the vampires, it hasn't really been good. I don't think I'd want to be a vampire. I would probably want to be a warlock. And it's funny because in this book, Magnus, whenever they need help, they call him. Whenever they need a witch, they call him, or a warlock, sorry, they call him. And it's giving me Vampire Diaries, because whenever they need help, they call Bonnie, the witch. So it's like witches and warlocks are really like, in my opinion, the top. So I want to be a warlock. Not that anybody need to know that, but whatever. I think I'm going to wrap up the vlog here. That was the first 3 books of the Mortal Instruments series, and I'm probably going to do a vlog on the next 3 books. So stick around for that. And if you stuck around and watched this entire chaotic vlog with not many updates, thank you. And until next time, bye.